How y'all doing today? My name is Ryan, and this is Down to Business Reviews. I have another new release review for you. This last weekend, I finally saw Ender's Game, directed by Gavin Hood and starring Asa Butterfield, Harrison Ford, Hailee Steinfeld, and Ben Kingsley. Ender's Game is based on the beloved sci-fi novel written by Orson Scott Card about a young boy named Ender Wiggin. Ender is being trained by the international military to save humanity from extinction by an alien race known as the Formics. I have been looking forward to this film adaptation for 14 years. I was given Ender's Game to read on my 13th birthday, and I fell in love with the book. After a few years of hearing rumors about, a film is going into production and then it would fade back into obscurity, I had all but given up hope that this amazing book would get a second life on the big screen. Then last year I heard it was finally happening, with the kid from Hugo and Harrison freaking Ford and Gavin Hood. Gavin Hood? Who is Gavin Hood? I thought to myself. I had become worried. A relatively unknown director tackling one of the most beloved sci-fi novels of the last 30 years? It made me nervous. I decided I just needed to, lower my expectations to a reasonable level and just hope for the best. That's all you can really do when the subject matter of a film adaptation is so near and dear to your heart. So after all these years of waiting, was it worth it? How was it? Surprisingly good, actually. Not mind-blowing. Considering that there's a very young cast and a director with a short resume, the movie is surprisingly good. What I am grateful for is that this movie is a very faithful adaptation insofar as there are no, glaring major plot changes. Nor were there any, huge omissions. The major plot points are almost all present. The film looks like it had a pretty impressive budget behind it. I can only hope that it makes, enough at the domestic box office and in Blu-ray and DVD sales to justify that price tag. The zero-gravity games at the battle school don't look incredibly hokey, which I was worried about. The, interstellar space fights are pretty cool looking, if not a little cluttered. And the cinematography is at least, pretty thoughtful. And that brings us to the rights and wrongs of Ender's Game. What did the film do right? First of all, if you're a fan of the book like I am, I think you'll actually get more enjoyment out of this than you would if you haven't read it. The major events in the book are almost all accounted for, and I think fans will appreciate that. Secondly, the casting of Asa Butterfield as Ender Wiggin is pretty spot on in my opinion. The list of young actors that could shoulder a role like this is pretty short. But I think that this young man did a great job, and I'm looking forward to see what's next in his career. Thirdly, I think the aesthetic look of the Formics, or the buggers as they're called in the book, turned out just amazingly spot on. They're supposed to look like kind of giant, ant, bug creatures, and I think it turned out amazingly well. One of my absolute favorite parts of the novel is a game that Ender plays in his free time called the Mind Game. I was hoping that this particular aspect of the book would not be excluded, and thankfully it is there in the movie, and they do a pretty good job with it. It is a little bit more abridged than it is in the book, but, it's there, it's present, and I was happy with it. But what did Ender's Game do wrong? As I said earlier, I enjoyed this film because I've read the book. My wife, on the other hand, had not read the book, and she was actually having trouble staying awake. I was able to fill in the gaps in the character development where she was not able to, and that made her disinterested in some of the storyline. If you're someone who hasn't read the book, you might find yourself a little underwhelmed. I suggest reading the book, falling in love with that, and then giving this movie a chance and appreciating it for what it is. Secondly, Harrison Ford didn't do a terrible job. It actually looks like he's enjoying himself quite a bit in this film, but he can come across as a little hammy sometimes. I also expected a little bit more from Hailee Steinfeld as Petra, or rather I expected maybe a little bit less eyebrow action. When I heard the name Petra Arcanian, I pictured, somewhat of a hot box of rocks, not a, frumpy mess of a tomboy. While there aren't any huge changes to the plot points in the movie, the character development really suffers. While the book puts much more emphasis on Ender's relationship with his fellow classmates, the film takes a much larger look at Ender's relationship with the adult characters and a little bit more with Petra. Ender's friendship with Bean is kind of glossed over and pushed to the side, and the subplot dealing with Peter's older brother back on Earth is omitted entirely. Corners had to be cut somewhere, I guess, to fit all of the major plot points into a 2-hour movie. And finally, while the budget of the film is admirable, some of the things didn't look like gritty enough. Where something should have looked like steel, it looked plasticky. Instead of a futuristic glow, the battle school has like lifeless fluorescent lighting. It's almost a little too polished looking. So if you've read the book or you enjoy sci-fi stories in general, Ender's Game will be a welcome movie-going experience for you. Hopefully seeing this movie will inspire you to want to read the book and fall in love with that story and get kind of amped up for a potential sequel, because the movie definitely sets itself up for Speaker for the Dead. The long-awaited Ender's Game gets a B. Man, I wish it was higher, but it certainly could have been lower. Thank you so much for watching this new release review. I try and post these as frequently as I can when I see a new film, so I can keep you guys sort of in the loop. If you liked anything I was rambling on about, please leave a comment down below, like and subscribe if you really liked it. Check out my other videos. I do reviews for SourceFed Nerds Movie Club every week, so if you want to watch those air every week on their channel, and you can check out my other videos. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, check out my Facebook page, and guys, thank you so much again for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you next time. Have a good one.